Okay. Welcome to the June 1st, 2023 Sustainability Commission meeting. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T Uverse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on YouTube, .com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4103 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have questions about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the Management Services Department at 818-548-4844 during regular business hours. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bartusov,
Here.
Commissioner Kartunyan,
Here.
Commissioner Werner,
Here.
Vice Chair Bazemore, Chair Pinkerton,
Here.
Ex-Officio Borisov,
Here.
Ex-Officio Kudo.
Here.
Thank you so much. 1A, Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Please join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. 1B, Land Acknowledgement.
I'd like to read that now. We would like to acknowledge that we're holding this meeting in the city of Glendale on the traditional lands of the Gabrielino Tongva people. We would like to pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, and the Tongva communities who continue to be stewards of this land. We encourage our audience to learn more about the Tongva tribe and the many indigenous communities in California and beyond. And you can find a list of books and resources at eglendalelac.org/Native American 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. 1C, regarding posting of the agenda for the June 1st, 2023 meeting of the Sustainability Commission was posted on May 25, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Item number 2, approval of minutes. 2A, approval of minutes of the Commission regular meeting held April 6, 2023. May I please have a motion and second?
Does anyone have comments, changes? Okay, I move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Bartusov,
Yes.
Commissioner Kartunyan,
Yes.
Commissioner Werner,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bazemore, Chair Pinkerton.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3,
Can I just interrupt for real quick? Commissioner Bazemore is locked outside of the building. Is there somebody that can let him in? He's in the front. Thank you.
item number 3, board member and staff comments. 3A, Sustainable Stewardship Awards.
Okay, thank you all for attending. I think what I'll do is read through both awards, and then we'll do 2 sessions of photos, if that's okay with everyone. We'll come down in front. So the first one, we're very pleased to present this award to the Golden Book Project, and we're issuing this for fostering a welcoming learning community and promoting knowledge regardless of financial status. Your student-led organization is serving elementary schools in the GUSD, aiming to increase students' knowledge through books. Furthermore, your organization has valiantly collected and donated books to the book truck and over 300 children's books to elementary school students, with plans to create community libraries and expand as a nonprofit organization supporting students in Los Angeles. By promoting the reuse and sharing of books within the community, the Golden Book Project demonstrates a commitment to sustainability, reducing waste, and maximizing the available resources. On behalf of the Sustainability Commission, we congratulate you on receiving this award. So thank you very much, and we'll And we'll have to get your individual names when we present you with the award, because I want you all to be acknowledged, so. We do have a second award today. It's to Carlos Minoru Mar. This is an acknowledgement for selfishly devoting your time to educate minorities in various cities about the importance of addressing the climate and energy crises. Additionally, you have successfully collaborated with organizations like Food Finders to initiate composting programs in households and promote the use of home gardens. Your actions have had a profound impact on biodiversity, evident in the significant increase of birds, bees, worms, and butterflies. Excuse me. Through your efforts, you have inspired positive change at the individual, local, and global levels, offering our planet a second chance for a brighter future. On behalf of the Sustainability Commission, we congratulate you on receiving this award. So I guess if the commissioners, could we all go down front of the...
And Chairperson Pinkerton, after the photos, I'd like to invite the awardees to come up and say a few words if they wish to.
Certainly, certainly. So we'll join you all down in front. Thank you. Oh, just you, okay. We don't know your name.
Anna Fidel.
Okay. Sent this to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Clark students, per usual, excelling.
Mr. Monica, here you are, so we'll... Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello everyone, my name is Amna Fidel and I'm currently a junior at Clark Magnet High School. As the founder, I will be speaking on behalf of the Golden Book Project. I won't take too much of your time, but firstly I would like to thank Glendale's Office of Sustainability for this amazing award, which of course would not have been possible without the Glendale Educational Foundation. And I actually have an amazing member with me here today, Ms. Rami Ruz, who's guided me through this entire project and she's been so amazing. I would also like to thank my mentor, who's also been super amazing and guided me through this entire project. I'd like to thank all of the members who were part of the Golden Book Project, student volunteers, parent volunteers, and my mom and my dad, and my mom is actually here with me today. She's been driving me back and forth through the schools, and she's been supporting me throughout my entire journey. So let me share our journey with you. We started back in January by collecting books through 2 of our clubs at Clark Magnet High School, and we took those books and we donated half of them to the book truck, which was only allowing teen books. And so with the children's books, we were a little conflicted on what to do. And that's when the Glendale Educational Foundation was offering grants to students. And so that's when I got my idea to give students the gift of books, no matter their financial status. And so I created a system in which we would be able to serve all of the Glendale Unified School District students in just the month of April. And we did. We served over 100 participating students and families. And we left our mark on them through our stickers, our books, and through our folders. And we encourage students to also leave their marks with everything that they do in life, and to highlight their achievements and to make the world a better place. And in the summer, I plan to grow the Golden Book Project into a nonprofit organization, and I hope that you will follow us and also leave your mark with us. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the award.
Thank you for all your work.
ready for any speech, but thank you for the award. I really appreciate it. You know, in September 9th, 2020, I was in a nice office in Beverly Hills sitting down in banking. And I don't know if you guys remember September 9th, 2020. That's when the big fires in Northern California were happening. So that's when I enrolled in a graduate program with sustainability, and I started research on composting. My primary job is in banking, but I started providing consulting to several organizations. One of them is California Mental Health Connection, La Hermandad Mexicana, and Subramanian Foundation for Global Brain Health. But I'm really excited. California Mental Health Connection is providing food to the community, low-income people, and they had an issue with waste management. And through alternative process of composting, we were able to process, I know it's a small scale, but about 400 pounds of food per month that would otherwise go to the landfills and pollute. So really briefly, the Siberian forest was burning for months. The Amazon was burning for months. California has lost over 4.4 million acres of forest. So it's great that there's commissions like this. We need to speed things up. The situation is pretty bad, and I think more people need to pay attention. So thank you for the award, and appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I know it can be a bit of a slog to get here sometimes, but we're glad you came.
Board member and staff comments?
I had a comment. So I got an email earlier this month from somebody who was wondering what the city is doing to recover food that would otherwise go to waste. We just heard from this gentleman, that was one example, but there just isn't a lot of transparency about that. So I thought maybe at a future meeting we could have someone come here from like a local grocery store that's participating in the organics reduction, and also maybe a local restaurant. I mean, it would be nice publicity for them, but also to kind of give the public some visibility on what they're doing, because we're all being asked to use these plastic bags and the containers, for organics in our kitchen and so on. But what's really going to move the needle is all these, restaurants and grocery stores that are diverting food that would otherwise go into the trash. And I think that would be helpful for helping people understand how that works.
I wanted to pick up on that same note and actually see if we might be able to, as a commission this evening, request for Public Works to come and give us an update on the status of how well this program is going that Commissioner Pinkerton is mentioning. So I would actually like to request a report from Public Works, if possible, on how well this is going, and if they can give us any kind of status from the haulers. I think we're going on a year now where the city franchise haulers have started rolling out their curbside pickup as well. So not only for the restaurants and businesses in Glendale, but I would love to know how well this program is working for homes. And that would be the haulers as well as the single-family homes that are serviced by the city. And this would be, and again, I actually would like to extend this not only from organics, but to recycling, see if they can provide any sort of update on how, really, I want to get a sense of what the the quality is. I mean, as we all know from the last half decade or so of reporting, recycling quality has diminished, and the success and the ability of this of recycling to be return to the the return to the system, if you will, has been challenged because of the quality of recycling. So anyways, if possible, I guess I would love to get a report on that as well. So sort of all wrapped up into one.
I'll just build on both comments from fellow commissioners. And so the audience will know also there is a state law that requires that 20% of all edible food that is now disposed as trash has to be recovered statewide by 2025. I don't know if the county has given a number yet. The county of LA was conducting research to try to determine how much edible food is actually surplus or is actually disposed. So I don't know if that number's been produced. I haven't seen it anywhere, but we do know that a lot of the food that is thrown away was edible at the time it was disposed, which is a horrible shame. So it'd be nice to get some metrics because the city does have a contract. I believe one of the subcontractors for the franchise program is a food rescue organization. So it'd be great to get metrics and also find out more about the pail distribution too. We can find out how many of those have gone out to single family or multifamily. Thanks.
Would the city be able to ask school districts to disclose that information as well? Is that something we can look into?
Chairperson Pinkerton, members of the Sustainability Commission, integrated waste management has been working diligently since SB 1383 came into effect over the last 2 years, rolling it out, not only setting up the food recovery program, which they have done, they've done a lot of work on that. They've connected all tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers and connected the suppliers with the food recovery organizations. So they'll be happy, I think, to detail to you their progress on that project. In terms of rolling out the infrastructure to comply with 1383, they have been doing a tremendous amount of work on that. And I don't know when the dates are, but I know that they'll soon be doing route audits and everything like that to see how effective that program is being. Yes, I'm sure they'll be happy to present to the Commission. Integrated waste management will be presenting, Public Works will be presenting to the Commission on the tree ordinance in probably 2 months. So I have to wait probably until after that meeting, so it'll be later in the year, but we'll connect with them and ask them. Ex officio, Kudo, we can ask the schools, but we do not have any jurisdiction over GUSD, so that is something that maybe you can go to GSD on your own, but that would be up to GUSD whether they want to disclose that information. We would not be able to make them or ask them to disclose that information.
Thank you.
David, I don't know if the city already has a program like this, but it'd be nice to, I saw on the city's social media channel that we recently recognized some local businesses for their achievement and whatnot. It'd be nice to recognize in various categories, local businesses, small businesses that have achieved milestones in sustainability. We can have, instead of the large corporations, the Amazons, the Targets and whatnot, that have a footprint, even Whole Food, that have footprint in Glendale, they're well capable of achieving the milestones. It's the toughest part, it's the small businesses. That's where rubber meets the road. I wonder if we can combine it. Let's continue to do that, what they did, recognizing local businesses. But during the same event, if we can find a way to highlight the businesses that achieved certain milestones, recycled X number of whatever they do, or composted X number of pounds, and maybe come up with a decal, a G with a recycled symbol around it. I don't know what would be nice. Not necessarily spend thousands of dollars for something they can put on their, business website and whatnot that say, in 2023, I was recognized for something.
Like those window decal things that are removable with the year.
The reason
on
I
it.
say, the year, because sometimes businesses fall off the wagon. They do achieve, and then 5, 6 years later, they fall back. And so it'll be nice to have a year and recognize in various categories, maybe a category for mobility, a category for restaurants, just an idea for staff to explore.
Commissioner Cartoon, that's a great suggestion, and thank you for bringing that up. So the City of Glendale is part of the California Green Business Network. So the Green Business Network is a California network that is designed to do exactly that. It's to recognize those small businesses that are making significant strides in sustainability and primarily recycling and waste management, energy efficiency and water efficiency measures. We have a consultant that has worked with the city in the past to establish that program. Unfortunately, due to a lot of things during COVID, that program went away. It kind of stopped because we couldn't go out to visit the businesses. I believe we've just issued the RFP to get the consultant back on board to restart and reestablish that program. And I believe, again, with Integrated Waste Management, who runs that program, once it's up and running again, I'm sure they'll love to come and do a presentation to the Commission on that program. But yes, it's such a worthwhile program, and I think we can do more to help Integrated Waste Management promote it. I think that would be a great.
One recommendation that I would have, David, is that the businesses that don't achieve the threshold that warrants the statewide recognition, let's try to recognize them on the local level, because there's certain things that council can do, the commission can do. Let's try to recognize those that have tried. Maybe they weren't able to recycle 400 pounds a month, but if they're able to, on a smaller scale, demonstrate their strides to achieve something, let's recognize them on the local level. Even if they don't meet the statewide threshold.
City of Los Angeles has a section on our website that does list all the local LA businesses that have been green certified. And I can share the checklist. They do it by different categories. I think office retail have one checklist, et cetera. One of the drawbacks of that is it looks a lot is based on your energy and water consumption. And if you're a tenant, if your business is a tenant, somebody else's property, some things are out of your control, and it's sometimes hard to get the necessary points. But yeah, we could create a page on the website. Just an idea.
I would like to see something for the ones that have been seen as complying with the plastics thing, because I mean, just today I got some Grubhub, even though I opted out of plasticware. Zonku Chicken gave me plastic. Love the food, but they need to read the thing and not give me plastic. Bring plastic to my house and drop it off like I don't have silverware. So, it just seems so wasteful.
Commissioner Werner, thank you for bringing that up. So, as you know, City Council asked staff to prepare and develop a better outreach plan regarding current plastic ordinances and potentially new and upcoming waste reduction plastic regulations. I'm happy to say we've just partnered with Economic Development to begin that process. We've had our first initial meetings with them. So we met, I think, with Montrose business community this morning. So we're going to work with them first, do the tests about a messaging and a communication, how it gets out. And then we're going to go and do that as large and wide as we can across the city. So we will be bringing up the disposable food waste accessories on request ordinance, again, reminding restaurants that they need to comply with that, as well as informing them about the potential styrofoam ban. And then, as City Council asked us to do, get their feedback on further plastic waste reduction regulations, which will encompass potentially 25-cent cup charge, the dining on premises, establishing foodware standards, and I can't remember the next one. But so that whole process is beginning, so we're looking forward to doing that.
If I could suggest a publicity program once you launch this, we sponsor donation drives in Los Angeles that are open to the public and employees, but The one that gets the biggest response is we collect condiments, prepackaged condiments and utensils that people have gotten from their food deliveries, and we get tons, which, when you consider how little one little packet weighs, it's pretty significant, but that's the most popular donation drive, surprisingly. So if we could have a couple, maybe sites, City Hall, maybe we get some schools to participate, something like that. It just, GCC or something, I don't know if they distribute those, hopefully not, but we got a lot of publicity. We got TV coverage when we did it, so thank you.
Chair Pinkerton, I have two good news I wanted to bring up. First, City Council voted to electrify the Glendale B line bus fleet. And so they're going to buy zero-emission buses every year, I think, with a few years being tapered out. And until 2040, we're going to have a completely zero-emission bus fleet, which is great. I believe they're purchasing 3 or 5 this year and then 9 or 7 next year. It's going to taper out from there. The second piece of good news is that the LA Metro Regional Connector is finally opening. And that's when you connect, they're connecting 3 new lines, the Expo, Gold, and Blue line, but they're going to rename it, and they're actually using letters. So so that's good because it's going to connect the San Gabriel Valley with the San Fernando Valley and West LA, which is just amazing. It's going to reduce transfer times by like 20 to 30 minutes. Certainly I will benefit from it because I know getting from like Pasadena to Union Station, then on red or purple into like, oh God, it's a mess. So this is great. Next is that City Council will be voting on bioswales and retention centers, bioswales and dry well systems next week. Hopefully it passes, but it would be about 16, so it would be a great addition to what we have in Glendale for reduce our water usage and what is it called? The technical term for refilling your aquifer basin. Recharging, there we go. That's the word I was looking for, thank you. And lastly, I have a question for Mr. Jones. Did we ever conduct a study for signal prioritization for buses in Glendale? And if we haven't, can Public Works come or inform us if they're planning on doing something similar to that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So is Public Works planning on introducing bus signalization prioritization? So essentially, when a bus comes up to a red light, to a light, it doesn't turn red. It stays green for just another 5 to 10 seconds. This has been a persistent issue for LA Metro, especially for trains that are at grade level. And so I've been on buses many times where we're almost there, but it hits a red light and we're stopped for like another 30 seconds, and there's like 20 people in the bus. So I think that buses should have some signal prioritization.
I will ask.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments, I'll go to item number 4. For communications, discussion is limited to items within the jurisdiction of the Sustainability Commission. Each speaker allowed 5 minutes. Sustainability Commission members may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff for investigation and report. We do have one speaker. Alan Dish, you're on air. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name's Alan Dish. I'm calling from Griffith Park. I'm sorry I cannot be there, but that will be my topic. I will be wanting to talk about parks in Glendale, specifically Shoal Canyon. I really think that whatever happens to it, especially if there's a plant built, that in the general plan there should also be a big recreational item or replanting of trees and so on. I want you guys to remember or take a look rather at Griffith Park, because there's this big scar on the mountain. It's a wonderful, terrifying scar. Terrifying for me means wonderful. It used to be the Toyon landfill. And I don't know if you know, but in the 50s, 60s, there were big promises that there would be huge parks. Well, none of it really materialized. And I would hate for something like that to happen to Shoal. Like So that's my first point. And second, let me just conclude in a provocative way, hopefully, but in a good taste way also, that I am for ecology, absolutely. I just have some problems with so-called too easy ecology. Like, in this sense, I would say, to provoke you, most of the recycling that we do, I think, functions as a kind of superstition. I would say, like when you have a football fan watching TV and they're cheering for their team. I think most of us do it because, you know, it makes us feel good. I really think some of the issues that we're facing, like banning plastic spoons and so on, or banning gas leaf blowers are at some level, not that they're too radical, but that they're not radical enough. I hope I can say this. I hope I can say that we will be needing bigger systemic changes. And one suggestion would be precisely to install a massive sprinkler system in the Verdugo Mountains, in the San Rafael Hills, to prevent wildfires. I know in Spain, there is a city that has big towers. Okay, I'm not saying to make the mountains look bad by installing huge towers. No, let's have a sprinkler system. That's all I have to say. Thank you. I hope you can think about it. I appreciate the work you do and the discussions. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We do not have any more speakers. Item number 5, action items. We do not have any action items for tonight. Item number 6, under reports and information, 6A, environmental preferable purchasing update.
So I apologize in advance. You're going to hear a bit too much of my voice tonight, so but we'll start with this. As you know, the Commission provided the Sustainability Office and the City Council some guidance and recommendations of what should be included in a potential environmental preferable purchasing policy. We took that information and we presented to City Council on what we think should be included in the EPP program. And City Council provided us direction to amend our EPP program as it exists, which exists within our Administrative Policy Manual. And we took that direction from City Council, and we have, over many months, been developing that program. So I just wanted to give you an update of what's going to be included in the EPP program and where we are. So we have worked on this, and we are now going through the internal approval process because we're going to be amending our Administrative Policy Manual, which is where policies like this sit that the city has to follow. So we've started routing it through the APM process. So, yeah. As you know, Council established priorities. These priorities have actually changed. They established 4 priorities, 2 of them which were fiscal responsibility and sustainability benefit. We felt that the previous EPP that we were going to recommend to City Council helped Council achieve those priorities. As you know, Council has adopted some new priorities for the next year. These are economic development, financial stability, operational efficiency, and mobility and traffic pedestrian safety. We feel that the EPP program does fit in with the Council priority of operational efficiency, because that's one of the things we're going to try and achieve through the development of the EPP program. So there's a number of reasons, obviously, why we want to pursue the EPP program. Expanding the scope and scale of the EP program is another opportunity for the city to align its internal practices with the current sustainability goals and the future of the Climate Action Adaptation Plan initiatives. We feel it enhances the reputation of the city. It reduces risk, for example, by reducing exposure to goods and services that may have a negative environmental impacts. will help us develop strategic supplier relationships to assist in helping meet our sustainability goals, engage our employees in sustainability efforts, and finally, help us meet the SB 1383 purchasing requirements. So the goals of the program is set out as to expand the EP policy to encourage the purchase of environmentally preferable goods and services and to benefit from the positive environmental impacts associated with those products. Procure those products and services in a manner that is cost-effective and supports our sustainability goals. Empower staff to successfully pursue environmental purchasing goals by providing guidance, manuals, and support to staff. And as mentioned, help the city meet the procurement requirements of Senate Bill 1383. So what are some of the key aspects in the EPP program? So with direction from City Council, they wanted the EPP policy mandatory for purchases under 50,000 and recommended for anything over 50,000. I think the reason for this is they wanted to get that policy embedded, see how it works, and get city staff used to following the EPP policy. Through the policy, and I think there's one of the questions that the sustainability did ask us, it assigns responsibilities to different departments by assigning record-keeping people in those different departments, so they have to collect the data, which are then reported up to the Sustainability Office and ultimately to CalRecycle through the annual report. And again, we utilize the CalRecycle model procurement policy to make sure that we meet SB 1383 requirements. Another key aspect of the EPP, and this is a recommendation by the Sustainability Commission, is to specify and purchase products which the US EPA has established minimum recycled content guidelines, also known as the Comprehensive Procurement Guidelines. Another aspect is to specify and purchase environmentally preferable products and services where criteria, certifications, and/or labels have been established by government or other widely recognized and respected third-party authorities. And again, this was another recommendation of the Commission. Within the policy, we have outlined the different project categories in which those recognized certifications and standards exist. So we're providing that guidance to staff when they will be following this policy. Again, another recommendation from the Sustainability Commission was to make sure that extended producer responsibility is part of that policy. So we have incorporated EPR. This list of categories we recognize is narrow at the moment, but we do have the opportunity to expand that categories going forward once we get used to implementing and carrying out this policy and reporting on it. Again, the key aspects of the EP program is to meet SB 1382 recycled content, paper and post-mulch procurement requirements. The city has a goal, or has been set a goal by 2025 that we'd have to purchase 16,000 tons of mulch or compost per year. And there's a number of categories we can make that up. So it doesn't have to all be mulch or be compost. We can buy fuel that is made from organic products and stuff. So, but again, that's a big ask for the city. With the franchise haulers, we have an agreement with them as we set up that franchise agreement that they can supply the city the required mulch and compost. We're having giveaway events right now to do that. But again, it's understanding and working with the departments to how we're possibly going to make sure we can distribute this amount of compost, which is a challenge for us going forward. So we're looking at different ways and different opportunities. So any ideas from the Commission how we can do that will be gratefully received. And then I know that the Commission recommended or want us to establish a benchmark and establish reporting metrics on what types of products we're purchasing. One recommendation in the EPP program policy, for example, is that all paper purchases are done through our contract with Staples. And then Staples can provide us all this reporting data, so the post-consumer recycled content of any product that we receive, if there's any these third-party certifications. So we have been working with Staples, and Staples are already begin to provide us that data going forward as we begin gathering this for our first report to CalRecycle, which will be coming up shortly, I believe. So that is the brief presentation on the update of our EPP program, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
I'll jump in. This is an area I work in. One question, the $50,000 threshold, the mandate for under 50 or less, I guess. What do we spend per year on paper? Because I would be very surprised if paper's under 50,000 a year. Printing and copier paper?
Well, all paper we have to purchase Staples, so that has been, all paper we purchase has to meet the SB 1383 requirements of 30%.
But there's the caveat about the price, though.
Correct.
So, but the city's going to go ahead with the 30%
Yes.
regardless?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Just a couple comments. So the default, it was a little unclear to me because I saw some terminology in here about if feasible, if reasonable, whenever possible. So, but is it a clear-cut mandate to default to an EPP product for under 50,000 for categories in which we spend less than 50,000 per year?
That is the intention.
Okay,
yes.
okay. One thing I saw it listed somewhere, but not everywhere. It strikes me that the easiest thing to default to is the US EPA's comprehensive procurement guidelines, which covers, 16 product categories, I think. So I would just recommend really calling that out because they do all the research as far as what's being manufactured and out there. Let me see. One thing with the vendor reporting, I'm still trying to do this for LA, like for toner cartridges, for example. If they are giving you annual reports, sales reports usually are separated from did we pick up for your EPR reports. So if your vendor that sells you toner cartridges actually takes back your empty cartridges, it would be wonderful they could combine it in one report. So we bought 10,000, we picked only 6,000 were picked up. Now some could be in stock and not used yet, but that's the only way really to track that your EPR's program is working effectively. So that was just one thought. Let me see. You know, the one big gap for me at this point is I would love to get a list of current specs. I think we mentioned that a couple times. If you just even do that for the CPG categories. And I also have one other question. I thought we were piggybacking at a council meeting. I thought someone told the council that we piggyback on the LA County's contract for copy paper.
I believe, yes, that was mentioned. Yep.
Okay, so, but it would be really helpful to just create a baseline with the specs, like where are we? And what are we not speccing with, say, recycled content, low toxicity, things of that sort? And just one other suggestion, one question. I believe all the copy paper that Home Depot sells is domestic or North American origin. I wonder if that same applies to what the county's purchasing and or Staples? If it's at least North American in origin. And then one thing to consider too is putting a statement in your product specifications, asking the vendors to talk about their packaging with the goal of, can you reduce your packaging? You know, what percentage of the packaging is fully recyclable locally? Things of that sort. You know, describe the steps you're taking to make sure your packaging is more sustainable too, because packaging is a huge constituent of what's in California's landfills. So if we could train vendors to start thinking about that and possibly change their packaging. I think that's the bulk of my comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
David, I have a quick question. So maybe perhaps by virtue of lack of audience members, but when there's Sustainability Commission meetings, we don't really have like paper printout packets usually, or we just have one, but in council meetings, there's like a full stack that is, I guess, thrown away or recycled. Is there a reason City Council has so many paper packets, and do we need to print that many to begin with?
So that's up to each individual council member, how they feel comfortable running the meetings, because they have a lot of information to get through. And what we find is they actually write notes on their papers so they can respond to staff, or so that's their choice.
Right, thank you so much.
Also, I noticed on the list it mentioned a preference for buying things that were low VOC, but without actually quantifying what's considered low VOC. So I would add to that, like per the SCA QMD, for example, because Glendale does fall within the jurisdiction of the SCA QMD. So if it follows that, then it also follows LEED V4, Green Guard, CHIPS, you name it, all the different environmental programs.
I'm sorry, I overlooked a couple comments. There's a comment here about going to electronic or digital communications and forms instead of printed documents. I'm wondering, have you identified like the most paper-intensive processes in the department? I know in LA we've got some internal accounting departments that just are adamant about using hard copies, and they make 10 copies of everything because it's distributed. So it might be helpful if you could identify which are the paper-intensive processes and prioritize those for going digital. Also, service contracts. This should apply to service contracts. In LA, the end user department usually typically executes their own service contracts. They don't go through a centralized purchasing unit. And I'm wondering if the same thing's here, like if you put out a contract for street paving or something like that, how do you ensure, do you have to talk to, is it transportation, is it public works here, that to make sure they put the spec in for recycled content, asphalt or road base, things of that sort. So just who executes your service contracts would be really helpful to know. Okay. Oh, one thing I ran across, sounds minor, but the use of rechargeable batteries. I don't know if you have a storage system or warehouse in LA. We buy in huge bulk things that are used by every department, and we have a warehouse. So you're not always reliant on the vendor doing a door-to-door delivery. I discovered a couple of years ago that we were purchasing rechargeable batteries, but we were not stocking battery chargers. So you have to plug those holes, right? Because it's like, and I was like, well, why? They said no one's buying them, and I'm like, well, how? And I'm like, well, of course not, because they have no means of recharging them. So just a comment on that. Thanks.
And thank you, Commissioner Pinkerton. And we understand that as we implement this policy, there is going to be holes, and we recognize that. But we just want to try and get up running, get it embedded in the organization, and do that analysis to see where the gaps are, and then come back and improve the policy.
One more, David. In terms of mulch and compost, right now it's sort of like an event-based. We have a compost giveaway, and we try to advertise it. Instead of that route, my recommendation would be to have permanent sites in the city where compost is available. I mean, you have to set a limit. Unfortunately, what I witnessed the last time I went is some people came in with truckloads, like empty trucks, and just hauled a whole lot. And I found out that at least a couple of them were contractors. They probably went back to their clients and sold it per square feet. So I would recommend, for example, Verdugo Park. Within the park, there's a yard of city trucks and maintenance trucks. A corner of that, because you want it somewhere that's enforceable. Somebody's there, in business hours, during business hours. And compost is there. Resident comes in, gets a bucket full or whatever the limit is. I think it's not a good idea to leave it out in the open, similar to Griffith Park, where anybody can come in and haul it and get away. I want to prioritize residents instead of contractors. But having permanent sites would be a good idea. At least one in different parts of the city, but at a minimum, a single site, central. Verdugo would be sort of central to both North Glendale and South Glendale, but ideally at least multiple sites, North Glendale, South Glendale.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on that. We do have a permanent mulch site at Brand Park. behind the library, so that might be a suitable location since people who want mulch may also be interested in compost, then they're familiar with that site. I don't know if there may be issues with odor with nearby residents. That might be something to consider, but it has been an issue where I, as a gardener, have been wanting compost, but I'd have to wait for the next event, which is, quarterly, and I needed it sooner than that, or when the next event was coming. So that's something to consider if people wanted it year-round.
Commissioner Cartini and Commissioner Bartressu from Great Minds Think Alike. We actually did visit the site in Bram Park recently and had a look at the mulch pile and tried to see whether we could add compost or whatever it is. So we're actually doing some drawings on that site. So that area where it is, we may just redevelop it a little bit and so we can have like 2 bays. But that is something we're investigating. So.
I had a question. So I didn't notice a gardening category, but I was wondering, does the city have their own citywide gardening program, or is it do they hire outsource it to a private company?
So our landscaping is outsourced to a private organization that does all the sweeping, cleans up. I do not know about the medians and stuff like that. I have to find out whether that's done through Public Works.
Okay.
Or whether we contract that out.
Because I was wondering maybe if we were to add another category for those gardening landscaping tools to be electric, that could be something we consider because we have cleaning and janitorial supplies. So that's what I was just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ex Officio Kudo. So we will actually be going back to City Council in about 5 or 6 weeks, I believe, with an electric landscape ordinance, just so all leaf blowers in the city would have to be electric and there'd be no more gas leaf blowers. So we are working on that right now.
I promise my last comment. The Center for Environmental Health, which I think is based in Oakland, they do a lot of studies on toxicity in products. They've got some really good reports out there. So might be another source to check into. Thanks.
Thank you. Item number 7, Sustainability Office Updates, 7A, Earth Day, and Beyond Recap. And we'll go to David.
So I'm just only sorry that Elizabeth is unable to join us tonight because Elizabeth and our library did an absolutely fantastic job with our Earth Day and Beyond program. It was a huge success, and Elizabeth built on last year, and I know she's going to keep doing it. So just kudos to her and to the library for the efforts they did and for the achievements of the program. So there's 5 events spanning the months through April through May. And each one of these events was well attended in its own way, and people were generally engaged in a lot of the stuff that was put on, which was nice to see. And there's a lot of families, a lot of children, and then also some good discussions with some of our Carbon Conversations events. So the Earth Day Fair, we estimated that it was over 500 attendees came to that event. As you know, at that event, we had Eco Story Show, we had a composting demonstration. So we think about 150 people attended those shows and those events. We had 2 Carbon Conversations panels, and Commissioner Ex Officio Borisov and Ex Officio Kudo were part of the first one, which is focused around, I think, youth and activities and keeping engaged. So 25 attendees to that. We had people to live stream, and we had 40 people who recorded that. We had a second one, which was done by Mr. Ted Flanagan from EcoMotion on his ideas and recommenders on how we can decarbonize the city. We had also an in-depth discussion on those different decarbonization programs. Again, well attended for attendees. and a lot of people recorded and viewed the events. We have been asked to continue this. People really like this whole carbon conversation. They feel it's a really nice way to have a more in-depth conversation, and that involves the city and residents of the city. And so just creating the space and the conversation between us and our residents. We did a guided nature hike, which was well attended to by 23 people. And then the repair cafes. This was a huge success. As you can see the numbers, and we actually been asked by City Council and the Mayor to try and do this on a quarterly basis. So we're reaching out to the Pasadena Repair Cafe, who are the people who put this on, and our libraries to begin that conversation to see how we can do this more frequently, just because, again, it was well attended and people really enjoyed it. I think what we got the most positive feedback from was this event. And then we had a number of makerspace workshops. And again, it's where people can repurpose clothing and everything. And again, this is done through live. They have 3D printing pro stations and everything. So again, it's just getting out to the community, letting the community know these events are happening, and inviting the community into us. So overall, it was, again, a really impressive set of programs that were put on by the library and the Sustainability Office. Elizabeth, we should clarify.
I have a question on the repair workshop. So do people come in and volunteers repair something for you, or do they teach you how to mend your own, socks or what have you?
So they're volunteers of expertise in different areas, and they will sit down with you and they'll repair whether it's a lamp or whether it's a sewing machine, whatever. So they will help with that.
So do the people learn how to?
I didn't attend, to be honest. So.
Busted? No, just kidding.
I attended.
Okay.
So I went to one of the patch workshops to repair some hole in my denim. And yeah, they show you how to do it. So we were all there around the table, like figuring out how to thread the needle, which I had never done before. So yeah, the one I did didn't come out pretty, but it did the job. But it was very helpful and got me to work my hands in ways that I've never done before. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Thank you. And thank you for representing us at the event.
Thank you, David, for the great presentation. I want to echo some of your comments for the carbon conversation part. I think ex officio Kudo can agree with me that it was really nice to sit down there and have a conversation with the community, because there was 5 or 4 really engaged audience members, and they asked great questions, and we could quickly explain how city government works and what they could do if they want to see some change. And it was really a great way just to connect face to face, because sometimes it's daunting. I was who are these people making laws for us or providing direction? And so I think we should totally continue doing these things. Yeah.
Yeah, David, I wanted to piggyback off that too, and just applaud you and your office and Elizabeth for this amazing programming that happened over the 2 months. I would say I actually attended 2 of the Carbon Conversations events. They were phenomenal, great speakers. I think if we could also make that a quarterly event, I think that would be great, or at least maybe twice a year. I think having that as a regular programming event would be awesome. It seems like a great way to get people out and engaged with the city in another format and to learn something new. So that would be wonderful. Would absolutely encourage the repair cafes to continue. Because I'm sad I missed them, but have some things I would love to bring. So again, well done, and also congratulations to the 2 commissioners who spoke at that event. They did a wonderful job. Yeah.
I attended Earth Day, and I was very impressed, and I thought that the participation was good. It was an unusually warm day for Earth Day, so that might have kept a few people at home, but it was, I thought, everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, and everyone was enthusiastic, and everything. And I made a little art object, I guess you could call it, of like a, I don't know, recycled CD and a little tiny solar cell and some pipe cleaners and things like that. But it was fun to see how something like that works, and teaching kids how, some conservation mindfulness and how clean energy works. So congratulations on a wonderful event.
I also wanted to talk about Earth Day, but I was wondering, maybe next time, I think it would be really fun to invite school clubs to have their own little booths as well, like maybe like sustainability clubs, because I talked to a lot of like students at the Glendale Sustainability tent, and a lot of them were either going to a school like I had friends at, or they were coming to Clark, and so it would be really cool to have these clubs do some outreach and have students join and encourage students to join their environmental club the next year when they're going to that school. So, and it was really fun being able to connect with the public, and I think it'll be a really great way to involve students in the process as well.
The only other thing I'll add about Earth Day, also great event. I was in attendance as well. It was very hot that day, and we were in a setting where there was not much shade. So I think Pacific Park is a great large park for events like this, but I would formally recommend a venue change just so that we can address that issue particularly. The park that comes to mind is Maple Park. There's a lot of open green space. The park is mostly shaded with mature trees, but also it would be in a much denser neighborhood where the park is actually surrounded by multifamily buildings all around. And if there was an event there, anybody that lives in that immediate block, which is hundreds and hundreds of people, would have instant access to an event that they otherwise know nothing about. There's also a gymnasium at the facility, and I think it would be great if we could fuse these events together and have a formal program with all sorts of things happening all throughout the day. The Fix-It Clinic, which was wildly popular, if we could have, why couldn't we do that at Earth Day next year? And just put it all together, have it be a big extravaganza with a potential venue change. It'd be cool.
David, one thing that I would caution my colleagues and the council is that if these events are successful and they want to do it on a regular basis, it's going to require more staff, more money, more resources. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that the success of these events need to be coupled with the resources that are needed to do it on a regular basis. You're a very small but mighty team. If the city is going to want to do this on a regular basis, it needs additional resources. So I would advocate for additional funding and resources for the Sustainability Office.
Just to piggyback what Commissioner Bartosov said, the event was at Chevy Chase Park, is that correct? If I'm Pacific Park, sorry. I think one of the reasons I didn't go that day was because there was no bus lines on that weekend, right? I think it was on a Sunday or a Saturday. I can't remember. I think it was a Saturday. Yeah, some lines don't run at all on the weekends, and so maybe Maple Park is right. It's near the number 1 line, which runs continuously throughout the week. So perhaps taking that into consideration as well, because I know some people, the number 7 doesn't operate, the number 8 doesn't operate, and that's a big shame if there's an event happening in the city and people can't access it via buses. Right.
Yeah, the irony, right? Oh. Does Maple Park have a parking lot? I'm just trying to.
There's a small parking lot in the back.
Okay. I've gone there to vote before, and I just remember, that part was hard. But, the idea that a lot of people would walk there is nice too, though.
Yeah, and I mean, we want to encourage folks to walk and bike, and that would be also in the Metro Micro service area, so people have access to that as well. Oh, and then I had another quick note. I applaud one of the food trucks did not have a gas burning generator, and they had all the compostable products. I think the dessert that they were giving out was in a glass jar. And I asked them, I said, oh, how is it that you're not needing to use a generator? And it turns out they just were not serving hot food. It was like cold products. And the dish that I had was really good. So that's something to think about as well, is to cut back on the use of those generators at these events.
There are no more comments. Item 7B, ex officio recruitment update.
So yeah, after the success of Earth Day, we have to report that we're not having a lot of success with our recruitment. We're not sure why. We think it may do with exam times happening, students haven't graduated yet, but we're trying to find that out and trying to, just trying to understand why the lack of response. So originally the application opened March 13th. We received 3 applications, 2 are complete, 1 was incomplete. We responded to the incomplete application and asked them if they could submit the additional materials to make it complete. And then due to the lack of applications, we extended the deadline so it doesn't conflict with exam schedules and stuff like that. So our intern, Nora, has done an amazing amount of outreach. So they've emailed over 382 people. They've connected with 38 clubs. So they've directly communicated with these organizations. They've done flyers. They've issued newsletter. They've been around to the campuses physically and putting flyers out. They've been putting flyers out in Starbucks and coffee shops or places around those campuses where they feel the students would view these flyers and everything. And then we've done 2 circulations through Peach Jar. Peach Jar is that process of if you want to communicate to the parents and the students of GUSD, you have to go through this Peach Jar. And it should reach every student and every parent who's part of GUSD. So we've done that twice, and that is a cost to us to do that. But again, we feel it's the best way to try and get into the hands of parents and into the hands of students as they get home. We've done a number of social media posts. Vice Chair Bazemore and the ex-officios have all been part of that. Again, the videos, they're receiving views. People are looking at them. And they've had a number of clicks. And I don't know whether, will this work, Vlad? See if it hit to the bottom of it. Oh, there you go.
The Sustainability Commission is made up of knowledgeable members of the public who advise council members and staff on important topics like environmental conservation, waste reduction, and climate change. One of the unique and exciting aspects of the Sustainability Commission is that it offers the opportunity for 2 student commissioners to participate as ex officio non-voting members. Ex officio commissioners provide a youthful perspective on pressing topics like climate change, electrification, and environmental justice. That's why it's important for new members to join in every cycle.
So, yeah, we've had our superstars out there. So.
The sustainable.
So again, as unfortunately, we've only received 3 applications. The application date has been extended through Sunday, June 4th, and we've also doing it with the new student commissioners on the other commissions. So we're getting it all out there as much as possible jointly, like please apply, please apply. So yeah, to be honest, we're a bit flummoxed as to the lack of response. I remember 2 years ago, the set before Borisov and Kudo, we had like 10 applications. I think we had 17 applications last year. So yeah, so any help, guidance, ideas you can give us, we'd be more than happy to listen to those and to help us get the message out.
Could I ask the current ex officio members, how did they hear about it? What, made them apply?
For me, it was my environmental science teacher, Miss Evans, who recommended me for this position, and so I applied. But so I've been working with her for all of her classes. I went to all of her classes to talk to all of the students about this position, and also encourage them to like email me with any questions or if they needed help with the application process. So I've done what she was able to, how she was able to invite me last year, but I'm also surprised because I know at least 5 students who are planning to apply, who told me they were going to apply. So I'm just kind of also surprised at this number.
Similarly to what ex officio Kudo has mentioned, I have 2 or 3 friends of mine who said they would apply, and they're like, yeah, we're in the active, actively applying. I didn't see it up there. We only have 3 applications still, unfortunately, so I'll probably talk to them. And the way I was reached out was at Councilwoman Elena Sastrian's Night Watch party through via Commissioner Batrasov. He overheard me saying something about buses, and he's like, hey, you should apply. So it really is like point by point contact. And I believe both of us have been, if we see someone who's interested, we'll let them know, please apply. Like, it's not that daunting. Like, it's not like some really difficult job. I think that's what it is, honestly. If people don't understand what it really is, and they see they have to be on a dais and like speaking a bit cordially, and maybe that sways some people, unfortunately.
And it may also be that because it's not the deadline yet, people are waiting until the last minute to apply, because they're either waiting for a recommendation letter or they're just wanting to make sure everything is perfect before they apply. So the number might just suddenly go up on the 4th, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
David, I'll admit I haven't looked at the application. What is it? Is it potentially the case that the application itself is somewhat the challenge? I mean, is there quite a lot that goes into this?
So I also was looking at the other applications, and I went through all of the applications. I think this year it's a lot easier to apply than it was last year because it's just a Google form. Last year I think I had to submit all of my documents to an email. Like, I had to do them separately, but this year it's all in one place. So I think it's a lot easier this year.
Absolutely. Plus, we have a QR code for the 4 different commissions that are doing it, which is the Parking and Transportation Commission, Parks and Rec, us, and Arts and Culture Commission.
That might be it. There's more. We're competing with all these other commissions now that we weren't
If it's
before.
a competition, sustainability should win over parking.
Parks and Rec or Arts. I mean,
I'm glad the mic was on.
And so, yeah, to echo what ex officio Kudo said, like last year you had to fill out a whole form. If your address and everything is just a Google form now, your cover letter, maybe some recommendation letters, and that's it. It's pretty simple.
does everyone have the Google form? Student age people, like everyone is on that platform?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's
so not-
really,
okay.
yeah, really accessible.
I know I served on the UCLA Alumni Association. They have a scholarship review for incoming freshmen and transfer students, and they actually did away with the recommendation letters a couple years ago, just kind of seeing that as a barrier, because in a way it's kind of a test of your social network, like what kind of people and are those people able to write a really glowing review or not, and it's not always the best measure, and it kind of puts the responsibility on a second party who may or may not follow through, and so that's something to think about too, and maybe asking for maybe a little bit more from the student themselves, a longer essay or some specific examples of what they've done, to demonstrate the commitment to sustainability or something.
I think the letters are still a good idea, but instead of having two required, it might just be easier to have one. Because I agree with what you're saying, but also it could also help like highlight a different aspect of the student that we weren't able to see through the rest of the application. So maybe just reducing it to one less, that might also encourage more students to apply.
Item number 7C, Climate Action and Adaptation Plan Update.
Thank you. Sorry, apologies. So where we are, so we have completed the baseline analysis, so that's we've completed the greenhouse gas inventory. We received an email from Rincon today just asking for 2 more points of clarification on some data about the energy required in our water pumps. Once they get that, they'll have completed the, have all the information, and they presented us the findings of the greenhouse gas analysis, but they just need to tie up these 2 things. They've completed most of the vulnerability assessment, identifying the climate vulnerabilities for the city. So with that information, we had our first internal focus group meeting. So we had representatives from all the departments. This information was presented to all the departments, and then we had a number of question sessions. So we developed this Miro board, so we can understand, how the different departments had been affected by climate change events over the last year, what they had done, how those events had potentially impacted the operations of those different departments. And then we moved on to ideas that the different departments think that we, as a city going forward, in terms of adaptation and mitigation measures. So that Miro board is still up. Staff are still adding to that Miro board. We're about to send emails out this week to the larger community. So we're going to have 2 focus groups with the community. We've picked an afternoon time and an evening time. So hopefully we get as many community members coming to those events. And again, we're going to go through the same process with that. So we're going to explain what climate change is, explain what climate vulnerability is, talk about the results of the greenhouse gas inventory. So this first focus group meeting with the public is kind of like setting the baseline. It's like, this is where we are, this is what we're trying to do, this is the purpose of the Climate Action Adaptation Plan, and we're really going to be looking for your input going forward. So once we finish those focus groups, we will be coming to the Sustainability Commission with the results from those focus groups and comments from the public. And then we'll be going back out to the community to continue to do additional community workshops. And those further community workshops are going to be focused around, now we've given you the baseline assessment, we really want to hear from you in terms of what kind of adaptation strategies do you think the city should be looking at? What type of mitigation strategies do you think the city should be looking at? I think we've adopted this process because we don't want to go to the community and ask them to provide us information and they don't know what we're talking about, or they don't know what we're asking. So we're trying to tee them up so they can have better in-depth conversations with us. So that should happen, again, fall of this year. And then once we've done that, they'll be in a place to begin to start drafting the plan. So the boring part, the data gathering part, that's all been completed at this point, and now we're moving on to this more exciting part, community engagement, and just trying to get input from the community on where the city should be going. We're really interested to learn what the community thinks about this, to learn what the community thinks the city should be doing in this space. We've got some mini grants, so we've got $4,000 of mini grants that we're going to try and use to, especially to reach out to those communities that may not necessarily attend these type of events, so whether it's to provide transportation for them to get to the events, whatever it is, just to try and ease that barrier of entry to come to these events. So we're just working out what's the best way to do that. Do we give everybody a $25 gift card, or do we specifically keep the mini grants, again, those communities that traditionally aren't involved? So yeah, so we're pretty happy with the process so far.
Great, thank you for the update. Regarding the focus groups, I'm wondering, it sounds like those are coming up, And I'm wondering what's the, how are those set up? Is it anyone can attend? Is it an email that will go out? Are the grants you were just mentioning specifically for those, or is it for the workshop itself, or both?
So the focus groups, we've identified the COBs and NGOs, the acronym I use, and non-governmental organizations, with Rincon, with ourselves. So an email is going to be going out to all those organizations, letting them know and asking them to invite people they know. So we're trying to use their network to spread it further. And then we will have, once we be able to expand our data or inventories of all those different groups. So with the other outreach events further in the year, we'll be able to invite more and more people. So we're trying to grow the amount of people that know about this and coming to. We're trying to grow it organically, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, the focus groups are more of an invite only.
Correct.
You're saying through the community-based organizations. Yep. Okay. And so the Rincon will take that information, and then it looks like we come next in this order. So they're going to come and present those findings from the focus groups.
So they're going to present the greenhouse gas inventory findings to you. They're going to present the climate vulnerability findings to you, and the first response from the focus groups findings to you too.
Okay, great. And then the community workshops is the more widely advertised, citywide, I should say.
Yep.
Okay, great. How are, one follow-up here, how are the workshops, and apologies if you already explained this, how are the workshops different than the pop-ups that are on here, the community workshops and community pop-ups?
So the pop-ups will actually be going to places like the Americana or these different venues around the city. We're going to have booths there talking about what we're doing just to try and keep that engagement, try and get more and more of the community involved. Because the end result is we're going to be able to develop this dashboard, this community-facing dashboard, that the community will be able to track how we're implementing these different initiatives, and we want to be accountable to the community for doing so. So it's just another opportunity for us to outreach. Because we know we're not getting to as much of the community as we should be. So how do we continue, as I said, to grow that presence?
Okay, great. So there will still be, will those two community items, the workshop and the pop-up, still involve any kind of community feedback that's being gathered? So there is some data gathering at that point? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thanks.
David, I have a quick question. For community workshops and community pop-ups, do you have enough staff? Like, is it okay if commissioners can join you during these events?
I would say so.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I just had a question, just backing up to the previous discussion. Did we extend the deadline for the student ex officios?
We did, to June 4th.
That new date? Oh, June 4th?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to circle back to the person I originally emailed that, for all I know, may not have sent it out or something. So, okay, so that's pretty close though. So, okay, thanks.
Did you have one question on the pop-ups? So the intent is just to solicit opinions on what the city should be doing?
So by the time we get to the pop-up events, we would have had a lot of feedback on what our mitigation adaptation strategies should be looking like. Okay. So the pop-up events would be the opportunity to share those with the community and to continue to get their feedback on those. Okay.
I was involved in the outreach, I won't say how long ago, when LADWP first did the Green Power program. And I wanted to do focus groups, but we didn't have the budget, so we just relied on secondary research. But we identified about 5 different themes and did mailers on those. Some were like just general security. You want to, if there's natural disaster, you want to keep your lights on, your children's future. I can't remember the other 2 offhand. But it was interesting. They all polled about the same response. We got like a 2% response rate to our direct mail, which is pretty high. But are you going to incorporate anything like that as like a lead in? Are you thinking about climate change, but here are different ways to frame it, for example?
So I think we're trying to frame that through the climate vulnerability assessment. So identify like heat, fire, can't remember what all the other ones were, flood and everything, and use that as a theme, is to be able to have engage in community and have that conversation. Then it's like, this is potentially what Glendale will look like in 10 years with heat events. There's going to be moved from 3 heat events a year to up to 5 heat events, and so that's how we're trying to engage that community. And I think Rincon's also going to do storyboards focused around
Right.
those different things, and so what that would look like to the community.
No, a great idea. Thank you.
Item number 8, new business. We do not have any new business. Item number 9, adjournment. May I please have a motion and second?
I so moved to adjourn. A second?
Second.
And we're adjourned at 6:57 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.